Okay, so I'm just going to file this smooth using a smooth file. I'm going to do one of the long edges first. Better to do that than one of the short edges. So it is a bit noisy. If you are finding it too noisy, lower it a bit more into the vise, and that will help. And all we want to do is just get this smooth and level. So I'm going to check with my ruler, put it up, and that's a straight edge there with very little work. You can also use a T-square to check as well, but we're only using the blade of the T-square to check. The next stage is to get one of these two ends at 90 degrees to that. So again, using my T-square, and I've done a fair good job on cutting this on the bandsaw because that looks very good, and that not quite so good as I'm checking there. So I'm going to go with, I have my handle of my T-square up against the edge I've just filed, and I check, I'm looking through, and I can't see any problems at all. So I am going to just file this smooth, and we should be good to go. Let's get rid of all the bandsaw marks out of that. I'm just going to double check now that I've maintained 90 degrees. Yes, and I'm very happy with that. I can't see any gaps there at all. I'm going to just mark this corner that I know is 90 degrees with a little X, and we're going to mark out from there. Okay, so we're going to mark this out. I'm going to use I'm going to use a pen, not a scriber, because often using a scriber on the plastic that's covering pieces of perspex, this is black perspex, as you can see, the scriber will cut and tear and pull the plastic, and I'd rather avoid that. I've already marked this corner as X, so that's my corner here in the drawing, up here X. Now this is basically, it's enough to have a ruler, a T-square, and some marking device, in this case a pen, and that's all you need to mark this out. So if we look at our drawing, we've got two bend lines here and here, and they're 15 millimeters in from the edges of the piece when I'm marked out, and we're going to bend that then using the strip heater later on. We also have to mark out for 3 columns and 3 rows of holes. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mark all of these distances from our X corner. So I'm going to mark 15 first, 30, then 50, 70, and then 100. And finally I'll come back 15 from the 100 mark. So again, if you're any good at maths, what is that? 100 minus 15? 85. So I have my ruler flush against the edge here, and I'm going to mark 15 first of all, then 30, 50, 70, and 100. Very near the edge, but not at the edge. And remember, 100 minus 15 is 85, so I'm going to mark that as well. Now, I'm going to do the 15 and the 85 lines dashed. I like to do lines a lot of the time in a dashed fashion, so I'm just going to set up my T-square carefully and just dash those 2 lines. It helps remember at times that you're going to bend there, and I want to do that at the 15 on the other side. And always remember to put the handle of your T-square up against the side that you know is already smooth and square. So now we've got those 2 done. Now we're just going to T-square these remaining lines all the way across, and the last one as well. And everything outside of this last one is going to be waste, so I'm going to colour that in a minute. Yeah, so we're halfway done with the marking. Just going to colour in that section of waste at the end to remind myself that it has to go later on and to not use it for marking out in the future. So that's going to be cut off or filed down. Now, in the opposite direction, or on the opposite side, we have 10, 30, 50 and 60. Let's turn the drawing so you can read those clearer. So we're going to mark out each of those ones. And I'm actually not going to do it on the edge here, I'm going to do it on this line. And this is just about neatness. I could of course mark it from this corner down here, but if I mark it on that line, I'm getting the same result. So I have my ruler set up, the end square with the front of the piece, and parallel to that line. And I'm going to mark 10, then 30, then 50, and finally 60. And we have our marks that way. No more marking or measuring to do. That's it. So I'm going to T-square the last one, the 61, all the way across. And everything below that is then waste. So I'm just going to colour that in quickly. These pieces are going to be, by the looks of it, filed off. It means a lot of filing, unfortunately. Maybe I should have cut my piece bigger or closer. And I'm going to transfer these marks to the other two lines, the full lines in here. So I've got this point, I'm going to get those 2 points now. So again, T-square handle up against the edge, line up the blade with the point, and I'm just going to mark the other two lines where I need them. I'm not going to draw a full line across. And then this is, remember, about neatness. There's no problem with actually doing the line across. And I'll do it on the last one just to show you the difference. So I find this neater. If you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. You can go with this method. There's no problem at all. Now I'm going to grab a scriber. We can't punch perspex. If you punch perspex, you're going to shatter it. It's quite a brittle material. So what I'm doing is I'm going to put the scriber right on the point and just wiggle it around a bit, and that should give me enough purchase for the drill bit to find the centre when I go into the drilling machine next. Three more. 2 and 1, last one. So that's all of our marking out done. Next part is drilling, and our holes, we've diameter 6, x9 means 9 diameter 6 holes. So we'll go do that next. Right, so we're going to drill 9 holes in perspex. Excuse me. Now, drilling perspex is kind of tricky. It is a brittle material, so you need to be careful. First of all, I'm going to be using a reasonably high speed on the drill. That seems to provide better results. And secondly, if I just put the piece of perspex in here, putting pressure down, especially in the middle, will cause the piece of plastic to want to bow down, and it is more likely to break as a result. So I have a piece of wood here, which is just about the same depth as the lip here. Okay, that means that when I put the perspex piece inside and clamp down with the vise, or tighten the vise, this wood cannot bow, the piece of perspex cannot bow underneath the wood. That's it. That will help prevent shattering. When you're drilling perspex, you need to go through carefully, especially at the far side. When the cutting points here reach the far side of the plastic, they can tend to pull it up. You need to make sure your piece is in tight, but not too tight, comfortably tight, and that you take it nice and easy going through the other side. And with any luck, I won't break it. So this will be a bit loud. I'll quieten it down and I'll work away. That's 3 holes done successfully. don't obviously touch a drill bit when it's spinning. If you do want to clear any of this swarf off, and it's extremely soft, make sure the drill is stopped. And of course, always be wearing goggles when you're on the drilling machine. If you're listening carefully to when you're drilling, you can actually hear when the drill bit is reaching the far side. There's a kind of a slightly higher pitch sound. Listen for that and then take your time going through the last bit. Sorry, that was too fast. So 3 more holes to go and then we're done, and all is going well so far. There we go, 9 holes drilled successfully. Wouldn't have been fun if they hadn't been. And if you've done it okay, you won't have any shattered bits out the back of your piece of Perspex. So next stage now is to file down these 2 edges so that we got our piece full size. Probably the least fun part of the whole thing, but it has to be done. Okay, so I have my piece set up very low in the vise. You may be able to see the red line that I'm filing down to there. I don't want it high in the vise, it'll allow it to move around and chances are it'll break it. I'm going to use a rough file first of all to get within a hair's breadth of that red line. Obviously I'll be speeding this up. Take your time and do this right. You do not want to break your piece of Perspex, and remember, it is brittle. Right, so that didn't take too long. I'll brush away some of the filings. I can still see my line. I'm quite close. I'm not going to go any more with the rough file. I don't want to go over the line. So I'm always making sure that I haven't gone over the line with the rough file. So onto a smooth file now, and I'm going to bring that right down to the line and try and get a nice surface finish on it at the same time. Okay, I'm happy enough with that now. Take my piece out, have a look at it. Yes, that looks quite nice. I'm just going to double check that I have a nice 90-degree corner there. And I'm quite happy with that. So now it's to this side. Now the vices we have here, which I think are incorrectly installed, but it wouldn't matter anyway, they don't have a huge drop here. So I'm going to do half of it on one side, but I'm not going to do it all. If I bring my soft jaws over, they should be able to clamp the whole piece and ensure that I don't I don't have too much wobble there. I think I'll be okay and able to do it all here. But notice the soft jaws have been moved out to clamp it up here as well. So again, back to my rough file to remove as much material quickly as possible. Doesn't take too long with Perspex compared to other materials. Back to my smooth file again to finish off, and I'll be checking with my T-square that I'm getting a level finish, and I'll check afterwards then with my T-square to check that it's 90 degrees. We all have our own little things that we do. Some kids, a lot of kids I see, they file at an angle one way or the other. Something to concentrate there is making sure you're flat. For some reason, I always seem to file more on this side than on that side. Maybe it's the direction I'm doing it. So I always have to go back and file maybe this side down a little bit more. Just concentrate on that side. I'm not doing a whole lot because I know it's not far off. Tiny bit more. But as I say, we all have our own things that we do when we're filing, and it's to figure out how to stop them and fix them. Alright, I'm happy enough with that. So I'm just checking now to make sure that I've got a good 90-degree angle, and I'm happy enough with that. So that's pretty much all of the making done on this. We now have to bend it at, according to our drawing, 45 degrees on those two lines. So I'm going to do that next on the strip heater. So we have the strip heater plugged in, green light is on. Don't forget to switch on and the red light will come on and you know you're heating up. So at this stage now we're ready to go. So we're going to line up the wire with our line on our piece, the dashed line that I marked, and you may not have a dashed line. Now it takes approximately a minute per millimeter thickness of Perspex to heat up, somewhere around that at any rate. So we're going to leave this for a few minutes. I have a former built with two 45-degree angles on it, and I'm going to use that to bend the Perspex around it, and that should give me a uniformity of curve. This gap in here also matches the gap between the two lines. Okay, so it should be almost ready now. At this stage I've skipped most of that waiting around 3 minutes. Who wants to watch that? So I'm going to gently hold down the piece and I'm going to test with my finger, and the plastic should bend quite easily. That's a little tiny bit stiff yet, so I'm just going to give it another few seconds. This wire is very hot, and these pieces at the end are also hot, so don't touch them. Right, so that's nice and soft there. You can see it bends quite easily. So I'm going to bend that around my former now. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to bend it down, and you may see why in a second. Now if you find that this is too hot for your fingers, you can use gloves of course, or even get a ruler and hold it up against it. Now it'll take about a minute for that to cool down so that the part solidifies properly again. And yes, you just have to stand here waiting with it. If you take it off too early, this piece of plastic will try to come back up again and flatten out. It's called elastic memory. It's not real memory, but that's the name given to it. So our piece is bent there. Now we want to bend this one. And this is why I bent it this direction. I can still see the line and place it over my piece. So we have to wait approximately 3 more minutes. So I'll cut again. Okay, so about 3 minutes have gone. I wasn't wasting those 3 minutes. I was tidying up the work I'd been doing earlier on. Hint, hint. So I'm going to check again to see if it's bendy. And yes, that's quite soft. So I'll take my former again and bend it around that. And turns out my form is slightly short. That's okay though. It still has the 45-degree angle, and I'm going to bring in the ruler just to keep the pressure on it and not burn my fingers. Don't forget to turn off the strip heater if no one else is going to be using it after you. At this stage now, we really just want to finish this off with a little bit of light emery papering around the edge. You could polish it on the polishing machine if you wished. There's no problem with that. I'm not going to do that myself. But again, no hassle. And then it's on to making the tees. And there we go. 45-degree angles on both sides, and we have our piece pretty much made. Again, I'm just going to tidy that up with a bit of emery paper and get the edges nice. So it turns out I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment. I'm going to try and get on a shot here. Doing it weird. So I did, I emery papered, and then I polished the edges as well. Yes, it took a little bit of time, but you know, sometimes when it's worth doing something, it's worth doing it right. So they're nice and smooth and nice little shine on them. So I can take off the plastic off the inside, and just with a reasonably clean rag, just give it a bit of a rub and a clean. Get rid of any marks. You don't want to be scratching your surfaces at this stage, so something nice and smooth, and just clean up those edges a little and get fingerprints off it. So pretty good. Happy enough with that now at this stage, and I can't, there we go. Okay, so that's that piece done. So the next stage now is to make the pegs that go into this. So a couple of years ago I bought, I think it was 1,000 golf tees. Still have a few left. Right. So I want 5 of 2 colours. And I have no taste whatsoever when it comes to colours. I would be just as well being colourblind. So looking here, I've got black. Black looks good with... I can't do this relationship thing at all. There we go. So black doesn't... Black, yellow. I'm going for yellow, and will it be white or green? We got 5 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 yellow. Definitely made that decision. Yeah, white. White is too close to the yellow. I'm going to go green. Luminous green. Sure. What could go wrong? 3, 4, and 5. So I've picked out those. So now it's to cut those to the right lengths. I'm tired. You're passing yourself again. There are other colours in the bag for those kids that I have in school. There's oranges, I think. There's yellows. Some reds. You can have what's there. Right, so I want to cut these now, and I'm going to basically cut them so that from here down is 20 millimeters. I'm going to grab this bit in the vise and cut them. And as you can see, the holes were drilled so that they would fit in nice and neat. 20 millimeters should mean that they should be just short of the ground underneath this. So that's the next bit. Right, so I'm going to cut all of these 20 millimeters. So try and grab them by the bit that goes in the ground. You don't have to use your closed toes because those bits are going to go in the bin. Ruler and any sort of marker will do. I'm going to try and use the finer point of this. So I want to measure 20 millimeters from here, and approximately. I mean, it's not very important that you're very accurate. So 20 millimeters there. And I'm going to use a junior hacksaw to cut that off. Move it closer to the vise. Junior hacksaw is absolutely fine for this. This plastic is relatively soft, and you'll go through it in no time. There's only under 9 to go. Okay, so we've got our 9 pegs done now, and basically I just want to give them a little quick file just to tidy up the ends there. We've also got 10 pieces of plastic that look like missiles or little pens. I haven't come up with any ideas for these pieces yet, so they're going in the bin. But if you can, feel free to let me know. You also may not have noticed another problem. We have 9 holes and we have 10 of these. And the reason I decided to do 10 was because it seemed like a sensible thing. No one got a favourite then. But I suppose a little bit of blue tack on the back and you could hold the last one on. Right, so I'm going to tidy those up and then I'll show you what the whole thing looks like together. So you join me just at the end now, getting the last one, just smoothing the end really, filing the vise with the soft jaws on, and just giving it a quick rub, tearing off anything, a little rub and tearing it on the cloth. So there we go. We have all of our pieces. Put in randomly and ending up with a pattern. And you have a nice little game of X's and O's that you can challenge anyone to, and it's nice and tidy. I think it's a nice little project. Now you learn to, if you haven't drilled perspex before, this can be a challenging exercise, not breaking 9 holes. I still have leaving certs who will break perspex by looking at it. And then the strip heater, this will probably be one of the first times in the first year that you'll meet it. So it's a nice simple exercise. I think the rule is that if you start the game of X's and O's, you should never lose. Good luck and enjoy. Catch you next time.